what's the state of the world at the moment with all of this sort of stuff, because I guess, you'd be forgiven for thinking, going through a pandemic, the amount of noise it's generated, the amount of polarization that it's sort of, it itself has accelerated. I mean, I know that we had, a lot of political polarization going on before the pandemic started, but this kind of supercharged the whole thing. And, you have to, you ask yourself, we get bombarded with all of these things on social media. The media, mainstream media is very sensationalized these days, looking for an angle that'll grab your eyeballs, which is not too dissimilar what social media is doing, but social media is doing it better, arguably. And you might get the sense that that the world is going insane. Essentially, that if you were to follow this literally all day, every day, and just follow it, it's a recipe for mental disaster in so many ways, because you will just get so upset or so angry or just feel so anxious at what's going on that you think maybe we might not last a year, kind of thing. And it's just and I guess the counter argument, and we'll explore this a little bit, is that maybe it was always insane, but the difference now is that everyone has a camera in their pocket and is recording it and is making it all visible. And on top of that, then there's the connection with community and linking people together on social media, which pushes it all even further.
Oh, look, exactly. I think that's really the skew of information and the trade of information now on the internet has gone from a democratization to almost an anarchic sort of situation, whereby it's freely accessible, but it's very hard to tell what the value is or what what the meaning or the intent behind a lot of this is. I think you might not have seen it because you don't watch a lot of free-to-air TV, but there's currently a TikTok ad on free-to-air with a very sort of TikTok meme as the focus to it. You should search it out and have a look at it. But to me, it shows people talking about this idea or this meme that has occurred on TikTok, and that to me basically sums everything up. The topic is meaningless, and the people's discussion of this topic is meaningless, but it's presented as something of great importance. And I think that's effectively what's happening with social media across the board, is the posts, information that's being traded, even by traditional news agencies now, is starting to border on the trivial, and you're being told that it's important, and people are starting to talk about these things as if they're important, and perhaps they aren't, whereas things that are important are probably too boring to really be interested in, so we just let them go. And that to me is a very big problem we face now as a society, because if it doesn't have a visceral response, if you can't be outraged about the fact that something terrible has happened, something equally as important that may be innocuous just slides under the radar, and it allows people to behave and do things behind the scenes that you probably would be outraged if you knew about.
Yeah. There were just two other things I wanted to touch on too. Just building on that last point, was that thanks to all of these wonderful devices we have, any of us, if you put in even a modicum amount of effort, can probably produce something that looks professional and easy to digest for anyone. But what's ended up happening is that you get a situation where, say, that whole thing about you can't tell what's legitimate or not. Someone who gets online and says something that is credentialed, has the knowledge, the experience, factual evidence, everything like that, is put on the same level as someone who's got none of those things, and there's like that false equivalency going on. But no one can tell anything about anything anymore. And this whole I'm just asking questions sort of motif that seems to be happening. So now you can't watch anything, and you can't really listen to anyone, because it's all noise now. It's effectively gone into a blender and turned into big noise. It's like an unfortunate artifact of all these wonderful technology that's been developed, that's been put into everyone's hands, and this is how we've used it.
Well, I think at the end of the day, we have to remember that the visual medium is predominantly an entertainment medium, despite the fact it's been used for, important information throughout its existence. But the visual medium is an entertainment medium. And I think as a society, we're starting to get sucked into, if it doesn't capture my attention, it's not important. And it leads to the polarization we see, and a lot of the, I think, activities and perhaps, conflict that we see in the world.
And just quickly to wrap up, this whole notion of the world being insane can feel like it is, but it's probably important. I'll agree that the polarization and the sort of slow sliding of civil discourse is unique potentially to now, maybe, but there have been other, it's not as if there haven't been times in the world before where I think people have felt deep sense of anxiety about the outcome of the world, for instance. I'm sure there were many events during the 20th century where I'm sure that people were feeling super anxious about what was going on in the world and whether they would survive or not. So many millions of people dying in wars, or the threat of nuclear holocaust, or being shipped off to through conscription to fight wars overseas, or any of this sort of stuff. These sorts of things have been in the background. What is different now, obviously, is that sort of decentralization and polarization of discussion, etc., which kind of has gone away from, the good guys and bad guys, which kind of might have typified how things were sort of viewed back in the day. And I'm only just saying 20th century, don't even go back even further than that, with all the chaos and stuff that was going on as us humans have been fighting each other, for centuries before that in much bloodier terms. So I guess it's probably important to try and see if you can get a bit of perspective around that as well, because we're creative as a species. It seems like we're creative at creating different types of conflict for ourselves, it would seem.
Absolutely, and I think this is the hallmark, and not trying to pin this on Facebook, but Facebook represents this, particularly well, is that we've managed to personalise our fears. In the past, the threat was always external, even if it was existential. You could either buy into it or not buy into it to varying degrees. However, now we've managed to personalise fear, so it just presses all your buttons, and what frightens me is different to what frightens the person down the road, but the algorithms out there know exactly how to press your buttons.
And on that wonderful note, we might wrap it up there.